The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good morning. It is 9:08 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Have you canceled the Olympics yet? I canceled the Olympics. Not watching woke trash. Thank you very much. Just when you thought there was not another reason to hate France anymore, they mocked the religion of 2 billion people over the weekend. What a joke. What an absolute joke. Did you see that? What were they thinking? What were they thinking? Now, over the weekend, I was in Florida. I was at West Palm Beach. We had Believers Summit with Turning Point USA, Turning Point USA's faith division. Turning Point Action was there. Donald Trump spoke. And the biggest conversation that was happening was, did you see what happened during the Olympics? A trans-infused Olympic ceremony. They said it was an unprecedented display of inclusivity. Everybody except for Christians, right? Everybody except for Christians. The AP, the Associated Press, they celebrate it. They think it was awesome. What do you think about it? 615-737-9986. It featured a parody of The Last Supper with transgenders, men in dresses, and little kids sitting at the table. And the left has the audacity to say J.D. Vance is weird. Okay. I know you saw it. It's been everywhere. They mocked The Last Supper. They had a pale horse running through the waters of France, and it was just disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. Paris Olympic officials, though, they claimed that they achieved their goal. The goal was showing community tolerance. Again, tolerance for who? Well, everybody except you, Christians. Everybody except you. Despite the furious backlash that is still going, the spokesperson for the Paris Olympic Committee believes that their LGBT drag queen inspired opening ceremony performance achieved the goal of community tolerance. It's always about tolerance, isn't it? Tolerance, again, for everyone except for you, Christians. except for you. An Olympic spokesperson told Reuters, and Discamps, she's an official with the committee, she told Reuters, clearly there was never an intention to show disrespect to any religious group. Oh, well, if that's the case, then consider me, let me apologize. I didn't know that you didn't have any intention to show disrespect to any religious group. Why are Christians always the butt of the joke? What? Why? They would never, ever, ever do this to the Prophet Muhammad, say. No. But this Olympic official and DeCamps said, we believe this ambition was achieved. If people have taken any offense, we are really sorry. Okay, we're sorry if you took offense. So let's recap the tolerance of the opening ceremony, shall we? One of the early sequences showed the strong suggestion of a bisexual threesome. Tolerance. Another scene showed the parody of The Last Supper featuring drag queens. Viewers were treated to a barely clothed and bearded drag queen dancing provocatively on a table that had just been used for the Last Supper parody. And judging by the size of some of the performers, that supper is not going to be their last. Just saying. But there's outrage. Blasphemous. It's going to be the last time that I watch the Olympics, I'll tell you that much. It's going to be the last time. What say you? 615-737-9986. The organizers, we didn't mean to offend. You know, I've only heard of one advertiser pulling their ads from the Olympics. C-Spire. I honestly don't even know what they do. C-Spire. It's a Mississippi-based phone service company. They posted on Facebook Saturday that they were going to withdraw advertising from the Olympics. The post read, we were shocked by the mockery of the Last Supper during the opening ceremonies of the Paris Olympics. C-Spire will be pulling its advertising from the Olympics. Congratulations. More people should step up. Based Mississippi. Over the weekend, as I'm at Believer Summit in West Palm Beach, I got to spend a lot of time with, tons of guys from John Amachukwu, Pastor John, who's been on the show a bunch, and I was hanging out with Topher at the airport, and we had lunch right before we hopped on our respective planes, and he told me, Mississippi's super conservative, man. He's like, besides the blue areas, he's like, it is easily more conservative than Tennessee, which I was surprised to hear. I think Tennessee's pretty conservative, but when you see a Mississippi-based company saying, yeah, no, we're not doing this anymore, I'm like, oh yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. God didn't want to be mocked, though. If you saw what happened the next day, massive blackout plunged Paris into total darkness. That was pretty cool. And they say it was a technical anomaly that while Paris was plunged into darkness, the church was the only thing well lit. Technical anomaly. You say technical anomaly. I say that's God saying I'm not going to be mocked. Not going to be mocked. John 15:18-19. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. This is why the world hates you. I just want to point out, it's okay to be hated. It's okay to be mocked. We can be angry as Christians, but we've seen this movie before. We've seen this before. So there's uproar. I will say this isn't the only controversy regarding Christianity at the Olympics. In fact, there's another one happening that went way under the radar. There's a Brazilian surfer, and he had an image of Jesus on his surfboard. It was actually the statue of the Redeemer, which is like a huge statue in Brazil of Jesus. And the Olympic Games, before they even started, they told him that he had to remove it to avoid being disqualified from competition. Yeah. His name is, and I'm probably butchering this, and I apologize. Maybe a super texter can help me out with the name. Joa Chianca. He described this story on social media, but he eventually deleted it. According to him, 2 weeks before the Olympic Games started, the Brazilian received an order to remove the image of Jesus Christ from his surfboard, or else he would be excluded from competition. He commented in the now deleted Instagram story that he is not authorized to place Jesus on his board because Christ is a religious figure and the games have strict rules and a focus on total neutrality. Oh. Well, explain your opening ceremony then. And although religious neutrality is indeed part of the rules of the games, the inconsistency couldn't be more eye-opening when you see what they did with the opening ceremony. Not everybody hated it, though. Not everybody did. Mitt Romney loved it. Yeah, honestly. Mitt Romney. Mormon Mitt Romney. Space Jesus, if you will. That checks. That checks out. That tracks. That tracks. He called it imaginative, inventive, and memorable. Dr. Jill Biden, who she's got some free time to watch the Olympics now that she doesn't have to carry her cadaver of a husband around from campaign event to campaign event. She watched the opening ceremony of the Olympics and called it spectacular. Spectacular. That tracks. That tracks. I didn't think it was spectacular. I want to know what you think about it. Craig in the Borough, are you going to be watching the Olympics anymore, man?
I haven't watched the Olympics since 1972. So it's just become too political for me on that. But my point is a bunch of gutless wonders over there on whoever financed this and paid those performers to go out there and do that. Wow, I mean, that's where the Olympic funds are going. Also, it's like these are people that have no basis of faith to guide their own lives, so they really just poke fun at Christians, and we're pretty much the low-hanging fruit. They don't go after any other religions, just Christians. That's pretty much all I got to say.
Hey, I appreciate the call. And the Olympic opening ceremony director is claiming that the drag queen Last Supper was not inspired by the Bible, but a great pagan festival. But anybody that looks at what we saw at the Olympics understands exactly what they were doing. The artistic director of the Alphabet Mafia-themed Paris Olympics opening ceremony claimed he did not intend to portray the Last Supper after an apparent parody of the biblical event drew outrage from Christians across the world. His name is Thomas Jolly, and he said he was not inspired by the Last Supper. Interesting take. He said, "You will never find me in any desire to mock or to denigrate anything. I wanted to do a ceremony that repairs, that reconciles, that reaffirms the value of our republic." Weird take. Anyone with eyes to see can see exactly what's going on. Phil in Nashville, your thoughts?
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Hey, the comment on what you said earlier, the reason I think Christians are always the butt of these jokes is because unlike some other religious groups, when we get mad or offended, we don't blow anything up.
Fair enough.
We just turn the cheek and forgive. To quote a really famous comedian, if we started blowing some things up, maybe we wouldn't be made fun of.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying, and I'm not advocating for violence, but Christians do need to stand up and stand strong in the face of blatant intolerance and mockery. And I call on all Christians, all 2-point-something billion in the world to say, nah, I'm not watching that. Not for me. Try again next time. Matthew in Carthage, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Matt? Oh, Matt didn't make it. Matt hung up. The Olympics. What a joke. Donald Trump talked about the attack on Christians over the weekend at the Believers Summit. Packed house for Trump. I got the audio from Donald Trump at the Believers Summit on the way. Plus, Trump was in Minnesota, and he had a fire rally with J.D. Vance. We'll get that on the way as well. Hang out with us. A lot to cover. We had about a week and a half worth of headlines in 2 days. We'll do our best to get to everything. Anything you want to talk about, 615-737-9986. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Glock store, talking about these guys like I do just about every single day because, I enjoy going to the Glock store. I'm really, really a fan of what they're doing over there. And I go to the Glock store for the most selfish reasons. I want to have smart people helping me evaluate and choose my firearms, and I want them to be friendly, professional, and knowledgeable. I don't think that's a big ask. I don't think that's a heavy lift, and it's definitely not a heavy lift for the guys at the Glock store. In fact, that's what I get there every time. In fact, they have a whole counter dedicated to just answering questions. It's a genius bar for guns in the back of the store. You've seen those at the Mac store? Well, imagine that for Glocks, and that's what you have at the Glock store. And then when I want to practice shooting to protect myself, my family, my kids, my property, well, I want to be learning from the best. And I want to do it in a realistic environment. And that's exactly what you get in the Shoot 270 private shooting rooms. You get a private shooting room that mimics real-life situations. You get a trained professional instructor. You're not in a lane by yourself next to who knows who. So if you haven't checked out the Glock store, if you haven't checked out the Shoot 270 private shooting rooms, why? Once you do, you're going to be wondering why you ever went anywhere else. Stop by the Glock store, talk to the people, check out the shooting rooms, not because I'm telling you to do it, but because you need to see it for yourself. It's the Glock store, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Stabbing attack in the UK. Got a shooting victim who pulled a fire alarm here in Nashville. And a new way to screen for cancer has been approved in the U.S. These stories and more at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, a stabbing attack in the UK. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I doubt it's one of those radicalized Christians.
Better get rid of knives.
Yeah, ban them for everyone's safety. Donald Trump understands that Christians are under attack in this country. And he said as much at the Believer Summit over the weekend. I was at Believer Summit in West Palm Beach, Florida. It was an incredible event with Turning Point USA Faith. And Donald Trump says he's going to defend not only Christians, but religious liberty in America. And if you've been paying attention to anything, Christians and Jews are absolutely under attack in America.
With your vote, I will defend religious liberty in all of its forms. I will protect Christians in our schools, in our military, in our government, in our workplaces, in our hospitals, and in our public square. And I will also protect other religions. We want that, right? Other religions. And we will bring our country back together. One nation under God.
Yeah, one nation under God. That's what we need to get back to. We need that moral framework. And it was great to be around a bunch of Christians over the weekend, man. It really was. It's great to be around people of faith and be encouraged. And if you missed any of the Believer Summit, you can find it on Rumble. It was fantastic. But Trump made the point that this radical left ideology is militantly hostile towards people of faith.
We cannot let this, I have to say once great country, but will soon be a great country again. But right now, we don't feel like this is a great country. We're a laughingstock all over the world, but we can't let our country fail. As everyone here understands, the radical left ideology Kamala supports is really militantly hostile toward Americans of
faith. Absolutely. And that's everywhere, plain as day. Whether it's Jewish students on college campuses or Christians being targeted in the Catholic Church, pro-lifers being targeted like they're terrorists, we see it every day. We see it every day. And Kamala Harris supports this radical leftist ideology. And Trump went after her for supporting the new California law. I'm sure you're familiar with the new California law where it's trampling parents' rights. You're not allowed to tell the parents if a child is transitioning. And if this is anything other than demonic, I'd like for you to tell me.
Kamala Harris supports California's outrageous new law trampling on parental rights and allowing minors to change their gender without parental notification or consent. Can you imagine? She's in favor of that, by the way. Or she was. She's probably losing. You know, they're losing as much as they can. But remember, a politician always goes back to where they started. Harris wants to forcibly compel doctors and nurses against their will to give chemical castration drugs to young children. You know that, right? She totally supports that. And she supports the Biden-Harris Title IX policy of forcing every public school in America to let men into women's and girls' locker rooms. Can you imagine? It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing? And to all the Christians that vote, when you see what's happening on the radical left, you see what's happening in worldly culture, well, you have to take a stand. And that's going to come November 5th. It's 9:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. A reminder, roadwork's going to slow down the arrival lane at the airport, so leave a little earlier for about the next month. One of those lanes is going to be closed for that construction. Heat and humidity ramp up this week. Could be some storms, too. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in the UK, ABC News reporting at least 8 people were transported to hospitals with stab wounds following what police described as a major incident. A man with a large knife arrested there outside of Liverpool. Here in Nashville, Metro Police are investigating a shooting at the 7-Eleven gas station on Rosa Parks Boulevard. Happened around 2 o'clock this morning. The victim ran to a hotel behind the gas station and pulled a fire alarm for help. And in health news, the FDA has approved a blood test for colorectal cancer screening for average risk adults in the U.S. The agency's sign-off could make the test more widely available and broadly covered as another primary screening option. Right now, the self-pay price for this type of screening is $895. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. It's 9:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. On the way, I got tons of audio from the Minnesota rally with J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. But first, I got to tell you about my friends at United Structural Systems. When you see rain in the forecast, do you start getting stressed out? Do you have waterproofing issues in your basement or your crawl space? If you do, it's time to deal with it because that problem is not going to go away. And if you ignore it, it is only going to get worse. But who do you want to call? Well, you want to call honest, hardworking people that are proud of the work they do, and that's what you're going to find at United Structural Systems. You want to call some guys that are experienced. That's what you're going to find at United Structural Systems. They've been doing it in Middle Tennessee since 1994. You're going to want to do it with somebody who's not going to leave until the job is done and you're satisfied. That is United Structural Systems. So when the weather gets wet, walk around your home and look for these red flags, these warning signs. Standing water in your crawl space, wet basement walls, cracks in your basement floor. That is your house trying to tell you something. And the guys at USS will come out, create a custom solution for you, and they won't leave until the job is done and you are satisfied. Call them today at 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems, 615-488-7855. Online at USSTN.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
That was J.D. Vance in Minnesota over the weekend. Fired up. Absolutely on fire. Kamala Harris, what the hell have you done for this country? Questioning our loyalty. It's a joke, but everything on the left is a joke. You know that. I know that. Anybody with half a brain paying attention knows that. 2805 has been texting all morning. He's one of the hate listeners. He's a lefty, clearly. And he's upset that we were playing the Kamala Harris fake AI commercial. He thinks that our listeners are too dumb to know that that's AI. Well, I would point out that the left is dumb enough to believe the promises of the left every single time. Every single time. 941. It is wild. For the benefit of the people that are listening on the stream, because I know that there was some copyrighted music behind there, I do want to play that clip of J.D. Vance for Kamala Harris that was at the Minnesota rally, because it's that good. And I know if you're watching on Super Talk TV, a lot of times we can't play the copyrighted music. So I make these intros, you can't hear it. So for the benefit of those on the stream, this was J.D. Vance to Kamala Harris over the weekend. Amen. Absolutely on fire in Minnesota was J.D. Vance. I've never heard him this fired up. And I think it has a lot to do with the attacks from the left. Again, questioning their loyalty. The whole J.D. Vance is weird campaign coming from the side with men in dresses that steal luggage from airports. A president in office who hops out of the shower naked and pulls his dog's tail and busts up his foot. The president who showers with his daughter until she's an inappropriate age, according to the diary. A father whose son smokes Parmesan cheese. It's just ridiculous. We're weird. We're weird. What has Kamala Harris done for this country? J.D. Vance has the answer. J.D. Vance was just brilliant in Minnesota. Brilliant. So I just want to give a shout out to Vance. What has Kamala Harris done for this country? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And people don't like her. People don't like her. CNN actually pointed out that the momentum from the left on Kamala Harris is fake.
Thing to keep in mind, I think there's all this talk of all this Harris momentum. Maybe there's a slight bit of momentum, but I would argue it's actually a little bit smaller than folks think. So pre-Biden dropping out, look, Trump was up by 2 over Harris. We look at the polls now this week, what do we see? We see Trump is up by 1 over Harris. The massive change is actually the change of candidates, because prior to Biden dropping out, he trailed by 6 points in these exact same polls that we look at here, where Harris was only trailing by 2 points. So the movement is actually from Biden to Harris, not actually Harris herself necessarily moving.
Yeah, the momentum isn't real. It's not. And people are saying, but Kamala's raised all this money. She's raised all this money. Guys, people are backing her because she's raised so much money. Okay, well, I mean, look into what OMG Media and O'Keefe Media Group, James O'Keefe is exposing with Act Blue. I'm not sure how legitimate some of those donations are. I'm not. You can watch the audio yourself. They go talk to people who have allegedly donated money to Act Blue, and they don't know about those donations. Pretty weird. Donald Trump actually just posted on True Social about this. The random, massive, repeated donations to Act Blue that are using stolen identities and quite possibly stolen credit cards. For example, there was a guy in Virginia that made 22,619 separate donations since 2019, totaling more than $800,000. I'll say that one more time. There's a guy in Virginia that allegedly donated to Act Blue, the fundraising arm of the Democrat Party, 22,619 separate times since 2019, totaling more than $800,000. So that's a little weird. It's a little weird. Now, will the Republican Attorney General in Virginia prosecute this Act Blue money laundering scam? Will they even investigate it? I don't know. Like so much. Do we expect results? At least Trump is posting about it on Truth Social. That's good. That's good. Harry Sisson, who is a paid Democrat shill, he's a Gen Zer. And at least in my opinion, he's a paid Democrat shill. You look at how quickly he jumped from Joe Biden being the best we have, running circles around his staff, to Kamala Harris. It's her turn. It's mind-blowing. But he tweeted out yesterday, the Republicans are panicking because Kamala's raising all this money. Well, you know, I mentioned the Act Blue. But panicking? I spent all weekend with just a few thousand conservatives, Republicans, and Christians. And the word that I would describe the word I would use to describe the Republican Party, the conservative movement, the Christian movement right now isn't panicked. It's determined. Not only is everyone encouraged about what we're seeing, not only is everyone laser focused, we understand what's at stake. And while we're encouraged, while we're hopeful, and we feel good at the moment, foot's on the gas. No one is letting up. Panic is not a word that I would use to describe it. I would use the word panic to describe what's happening with the left and the constant cover-up of not just Kamala Harris's record as VP, as a senator, as a prosecutor, but also the cover-up of Donald Trump's assassination attempt. The left is in free-fall panic mode. That's on full display. Full display. Also, Kamala Harris's campaign is actually hiring more online shills. Did you know this? They have a job posting. They have a job posting from Launch Viral. Our agency brings viral influencer and social media firepower to businesses, and they have a Harris for President paid post opportunity. We're offering $150 cash paid bonus incentive as a small token of appreciation for those selected. Hurry, spots are limited. We're asking you to encourage fans to share, like, and follow Kamala. We're encouraging you and asking you to post one or more memes only using our pre-approved assets. Feel free to add your own spin or commentary on your TikTok, Instagram too. That would be awesome. Post your content on TikTok, Instagram, or both. Mention @Kamala Harris. They have to pay people to support this woman. This is what they don't understand. The memers on the right do it for free because they believe in the cause. The left can't meme. That's not a meme. That's just reality. And they're looking for memers to help them out. The posts are online. You can find them. It's just... And then a paid DNC shill like Harry Sisson says, the Republicans are panicking. I don't see panic at all. Not one bit. The Trump rally in Minnesota was fantastic over the weekend. Fantastic. He goes after Kamala Harris. He goes after the fact that they're trying to cover up her record, that they're deleting everything. And I have all that audio for you on the way. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
stabbing attack on children in the UK, and we have a new development concerning the investigation into the assassination attempt on former President Trump coming up at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. It's 9:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. So I was gonna play some audio from the Minnesota rally, but I want to double back and play some more Trump audio from the Believer Summit. It's in line with what I'm going to get into with the Minnesota rally. But he was going in at the Believer Summit on Joe Biden, on Kamala Harris, and you have to hear it. Trump makes the point 5 days ago, we beat Biden.
As you know, 5 days ago, we officially defeated the worst president in the history of the United States, crooked Joe Biden. You know, I thought a lot about it. We defeated him. He was badly beaten, and everybody was going to him, said, you can't beat him. You're not going to beat this guy. You can't beat him. Get out, get out. We want you out. There was nothing nice about what they were doing. And they were saying, we want you out of the race. You're going to lose. We want to put somebody else in. How about that? It's like a prize fighter. He's losing badly, ready to be knocked out. And they say, well, wait, let's stop the fight. Let's put somebody else in. It doesn't work that way, and it's not supposed to work that way. And this really was a coup by the Democrats. This was a coup, nothing else.
And new Substack from Seymour Hersh indicates that it was nothing but a coup. Seymour Hersh says that President Barack Obama and VP Kamala Harris, now the presumptive nominee for president, they threatened Biden. They threatened him with the 25th Amendment if he didn't drop out of the presidential race. It's been the rumor for a minute. Now the reporting is catching up. And Trump at the Believer Summit, he said, I don't know why, but I feel the need to stick up for Joe Biden.
He got 14 million votes. I hate to stick up for Biden, but, he didn't want to do what he did. He said, I'll never go out. I'll never, ever go out. 2 days later, I'm proud to go out. Because the fascists went after him. They threatened him with the 25th Amendment. They said, we can do it the nice way or we can do it the hard way, Joe. That's what happened. I know as many people on that side as I know on our side, so to speak. But that's what happened. They said, we can do it the hard way. We can do it the easy way. 25th Amendment if you don't go. And he said, I'll go. And now they're trying to make him into a brave hero. He's so brave.
Actually, it's the most heroic thing he's ever done for the country was quitting. After 50 years of service in politics, I say service with air quotes, Joe Biden did the greatest thing for politics he's ever done. He quit. He quit. So now Harris is the presumptive nominee, and they're trying to whitewash her record. They're trying to hide it. We're going to give you the audio in the comments from Donald Trump over the weekend on why he thinks that is garbage, how they're trying to rewrite Kamala's history. We'll do that after Ken Weaver's newscast on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got a traffic problem. Going to be the South Loop downtown. The off-ramp right lane is blocked. 40 eastbound to eastbound 40. That is the loop eastbound off-ramp to eastbound 40. And we're monitoring reports out of the UK about an attack on children at what is being described as a Taylor Swift-themed kids dance event. A young girl dead, 7 others injured by a man with a knife. It happened in Southport, which is a seaside town of about 92,000 people in northwest England. And concerning the assassination attempt on former President Trump, we have learned that former President Trump will sit down for a victim interview with the FBI, which is investigating this month's attempt on his life. Victim interviews are a routine part of criminal investigations, but are voluntary. The FBI says it has yet to determine a motive for the shooter, but believe Thomas Crooks made what they call significant efforts to conceal his activities, including using aliases to make firearms-related purchases online. Meanwhile, ABC News talking for the first time to the local SWAT team that was on scene. Here's Aaron Katersky speaking with team member Rich Giamito about the incident.
We had access through that ladder, got up onto the roof.
And as you're scrambling onto that roof, you don't know for sure whether he's dead or alive, or whether you'll encounter fire.
At that point, no.
So what are you prepared? Are you prepared for a firefight at that point?
Well, we're prepared for anything at that point because at this time we're unsure.
The members say they were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived. They say that never happened. Here in Nashville, Metro Police investigating a shooting where the victim ran to a hotel and pulled a fire alarm to get help. It happened around 2 o'clock this morning outside the 7-Eleven on Rosa Parks Boulevard. Reports say the man who was shot ran to a hotel behind the gas station and pulled the fire alarm. No information on suspects. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on Air. You can also listen to us wherever you go with the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn thread, the TuneIn app. You can get the podcast on Apple and Spotify. Donald Trump at Believers Summit over the weekend and in Minnesota. He was talking about how they're rewriting Kamala's history. And he did that at Believers Summit. He actually trashed the Biden, I'm dropping out of the race speech, and then went in on how the rewrite of Kamala's history.
The other night he made a speech behind the beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office. And look, I'm not looking to knock. I want to give people credit or not credit. It was horrible. And then you turn on to like CNN and MSDNC, the worst. They're just horrible. And they're saying one of the finest speeches we've ever seen. I mean, Churchillian, somebody said. Churchill, Winston Churchill. No, Winston had it on him a little bit. It was so bad, and they pretended it was good. And they're doing the same thing with her. She was a bum.
Yep.
3 weeks ago.
Yep.
She was a bum. A failed vice president in a failed administration with millions of people crossing, and she was the border czar. Now they're trying to say she never was the border czar. She had nothing to do with the border. She was the border czar. They're trying to take it. They're deleting it all over the place. They want to take it because we have the worst border in history. And 3.5 years ago, we had the best border that we've ever had.
Yeah, they are. They're trying to rewrite everything, but we have the receipts. This is the thing that they don't understand. The internet's forever. The left can try to rewrite the narrative. They can put the fact checks on. They can use Google to hide the assassination attempt. They can do all the things. But we have Twitter. Twitter is for free speech now, and you can find anything on Twitter, including this flashback from CNN. This isn't even like a years old flashback. This is months ago. Chris Wallace on CNN talking about how everyone hates Kamala Harris. Everyone.
Interesting news. Recent focus groups conducted by the super PAC Republican voters against Trump found that swing voters don't like Harris. And focus groups conducted by the Democratic National Committee also found Harris rubs some people the wrong way. So, Jonah, how big a drag is Kamala Harris on the ticket?
I think she's a pretty big drag. I think she was arguably Biden's worst political decision.
This is just a few months ago. CNN. I think Kamala was arguably Biden's worst political decision. The rewrite is in full on panic. They know we have the receipts.
Biden's worst political decision of his presidency to pick her in the first place. And one of the special reasons that she's a drag is Biden's age concerns people. They worry that he can't fill a term. They worry that he's not up to the job. And so the vice president matters more than they normally do. I generally think going into the future that Democrats really should not nominate or front people who come from decidedly all blue states, unless they're like once in a generation talents like Barack Obama. Because Kamala Harris does not know how to talk to the center or to the right. She only really knows how to sort of speak the language of the base of the party.
She doesn't know how to talk to the left or the right. She only knows how to speak to the base of the party. This is CNN just a few months ago, pointing out how terrible this woman is. But now they're telling us she's the most qualified for the job. Now they're telling us there's nobody better. There's nobody better than the best female vice president we've ever had. I mean, do they think we have no memory? I know that the shills on the left, they'll forget everything. But do they really think we're going to forget this? Honestly. And in that same CNN interview, they said people hate her voice. Chris Wallace says people hate her voice. And one of the contributors on the panel said, well, that's sexist. And he said, well, no, people hate Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s voice too.
One of the things that people objected to was her voice. They said they found her voice, especially her laugh, annoying.
Oh, dear. You know, it is amusing, and I put in Google, Kamala Harris finds her voice. It's not just it's not just the Harris team that's saying this. When you Google that, you get several articles by reporters. It is the media that's saying this, and about once every 6 months, the media writes a story, Kamala Harris finds her voice, and usually it's on the abortion message. If she had a strong, consistent voice and was really finding a lot of success as vice president, we wouldn't read an article every 6 months.
Yes, because no one ever writes about women and their voices. No one ever writes about women smiling or being appealed.
She's a woman. This is why they're doing it. She's a woman.
I kind of anticipated this.
I'm sorry.
People write about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his voice.
Not that much. Come on.
Oh,
and it's a particularly annoying voice, by the way. But
Oh, not that much. Yeah, RFK has a particularly annoying voice. Well, Kamala does as well.
That's besides the point. It's
like precisely the point. Her voice is an issue.
She's got a problem with communicating. She sounds like a prosecutor. I would say that's probably she sounds like what she was for years. I think the issue is she's also a woman. She's also a woman of color. And I'm not blaming it on that necessarily, but she has got a lot of inbuilt things.
Are you suggesting that women don't face a double standard in politics?
I'm just saying that I think the voice question with her is that she does have a voice that people find annoying, just like they do with Robert F. Kennedy.
Well, she's a woman, and she's a person of color. So clearly, you are a sexist and a bigot. Clearly. Thank goodness Chris Wallace isn't at Fox anymore. There's enough sexist and bigots at Fox News. You know? These people think we forget everything.
Because we're Fox News, and we suck.
Yeah. Actually, I think getting rid of Chris Wallace is a better decision, but they think we don't know. They think we don't understand what's going on. 92% of voters think Kamala Harris is behind the coup, by the way. Did you know that? 92% of voters think Kamala Harris had something to do with it. Well, because she did. She did. Wes Moore, the governor out of Maryland, he thinks Biden deserved better than how he was treated. Maybe he does. Maybe he does deserve a little bit better. They definitely threatened that guy. They did. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So Kamala Harris, she has an annoying voice. And that's because you're clearly a racist and a sexist. Just full disclosure. It has nothing to do with her record or performance, why you don't like her. You only don't like her because you're a racist and a sexist. And Trump brought up the record in Minnesota at this rally. And the rally in Minnesota, they had more people in the overflow outside than Kamala Harris can get into a high school gym. 3, 4, 5 times the amount of people that Kamala Harris can get inside a high school gym. And Trump says, they're deleting everything with Kamala Harris. They're deleting everything.
Over the past 3.5 years, Border Czar Harris, which is what she called herself, even the New York Times today, they took an article out of the New York Times, Border Czar. Now, they're deleting everything that says, these people back there are deleting everything. But we already have it.
We already have it. We already have everything. And like the Minnesota Freedom Fund, Kamala Harris, well, she posted a tweet asking people to donate to the Minnesota Freedom Fund. And Trump didn't miss the opportunity to bring that up in Minnesota. Trump didn't miss the opportunity in Minnesota to say that I was talking to the governor of Minnesota, wondering and asking him to send out the National Guard, and he didn't during the Summer of Love. He reminded the people of Minnesota about that.
Every voter in Minnesota needs to know that when the violent mobs of anarchists and looters and Marxists came to burn down Minneapolis 4 years ago, remember me? I couldn't get your governor to act. He's supposed to call in the National Guard or the Army, and he didn't do it. I couldn't get your governor. So I sent in the National Guard to save Minneapolis while Kamala Harris sided with the arsonist and rioter and raised money to bail out the criminals, bail them all out of jail.
But they're going to rewrite that. They're going to say that never happened, but we have the tweets. We have the interviews where she's asked about it. We have all of that. You remember the Minnesota Freedom Fund. People in Minnesota absolutely remember the Minnesota Freedom Fund.
Kamala urged her followers to donate to the so-called Minnesota Freedom Fund, helping raise $35 million to set loose violent offenders after they shot at police, looted your stores, sexually assaulted innocent victims, and committed all sorts of other heinous crimes. One of the criminals Kamala helped bail out of jail was Sean Michael Tillman, very famous now, unfortunately, a repeat offender who, with Harris's help, was set free. She set free many very bad people. And then he went on a murder rampage. He killed a man on a train platform in St. Paul, shooting him 6 times in the head. Okay? She just turned him free. Ultra-liberal Kamala Harris will deliver crime, chaos, mayhem, and death to our country I will restore law and order, justice in America.
Kamala Harris is an unhinged leftist lunatic who really feeds on division. She feeds on it. And you can see that back to the Minnesota Freedom Fund when she was running for president in 2020, and you can see it today. Do you know that over the weekend there was a big Zoom call, White women for Kamala Harris. Have you heard about this? It's ridiculous. They should have just called it Karens for Kamala. Over 160,000 white women for Kamala Harris joined a Zoom call to learn how to shut up and listen to BIPOC, that's Black, Indigenous, people of color, to be good servants of the vice president's presidential campaign. This honestly really happened. And there was a lot of women on this call, but a few others got on the call too, and we got audio from it. This is from White Women Answer the Call for Kamala Harris.
As white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes.
Ugh.
If you find yourself talking over or speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, just take a beat. And instead, we can put our listening ears on.
So when a BIPOC individual tells you that Kamala Harris was never the border czar, or that, you know, she can't be tied to the Biden policies and the Biden presidency and the Biden record, and at the same time, Biden was one of the most successful presidents, you have to just shut up and listen. You got to put your listening ears on.
So do learn from and amplify the voices of those who have been historically marginalized, and use the privilege you have in order to push for systemic change.
More division from the left. More division. So this Zoom call, which was dubbed White Women Answer the Call, had about 164,000 white women to learn how to support the presumptive Democrat presidential nominee. And there was celebrities were there too, guys. They had celebrities. Maybe this will change your mind. Maybe now it's time to shut up and listen. They had Pink, singer-songwriter Pink. They had the American-hating former women's soccer player Megan Rapinoe. So, did that change your mind? As white people, we have a lot to learn and unlearn. So do check your blind spots. This entire campaign is already turning out to be a joke, and the jokes are already flowing. Kamala Harris is a joke. Elon Musk put out an AI-generated ad for her, and the ad is hilarious. It's actually an accurate ad for Kamala Harris, and one of the things that they do is they splice in actual footage of Kamala Harris talking. So they grab audio from her at speeches, and this is why it's so funny. We played this during the Gang of Three Amigos this morning, and there was an individual, John in Hendersonville, 2805. He thinks that you're too dumb to understand that this is a joke. I don't.
I, Kamala Harris, and your Democrat candidate for president, because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility of the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant. Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time. Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking.
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean, Joe Biden. Do you think the country went to over the past 4 years? You ain't seen nothing yet.
So we played that on the Gang of Amigos, and this individual, 2805, John in Hendersonville, said, "Your listeners are too dumb to know that that's AI and a joke." And I said, no, that's the left is the dumb ones. And I invited him to call in because he's pushing the latest Trump hoax on the super text line that elections will be over if Trump is elected. Dictator on day one. And we'll talk about that newest hoax after the break. It's 10:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I'm here for Paul Winkler, Inc. Listen, your financial future is going to be your responsibility. Nobody's going to do it for you, but you don't have to do it alone. I'm not doing it alone. I'm doing it with the help of Paul and his team at Paul Winkler, Inc. And I've known Paul for a while now, but I listen to him even longer. He hosts the Investor Coaching Show on WTN every Saturday from 3 to 6. And before I got my show here, I would listen and I would learn from him. So when I got my show here, absolutely I wanted to work with Paul. Who wouldn't want to work with somebody who spent time studying under an economist who went on to win a Nobel Prize? That kind of background, that kind of information, that's what Paul brings to the table. That's pretty cool. And he's an avid collector of financial planning designations. He has up to 8 now. So my wife and I work with Paul. We actually have a meeting with him this week. Very excited to do that. And when I came on board, I knew I wanted to work with Paul. And it's because Paul's team hold themselves to the highest level of fiduciary status. Because of that, Paul wants to make sure I tell you I get paid to do these commercials. He wants the honesty and the transparency. I mean, where else do you hear that? I like that, but I don't get paid to be a client. I chose to be a client. I was excited to become a client because I trust Paul and his team. I like that Paul's team does nothing on commission. I like that the focus is on education. That's been huge for me, a guy that before meeting with Paul, I was essentially financially illiterate. Not anymore. Paul and his team are going to take a look at your whole financial picture, and then they'll help you make some decisions because your financial picture is unique to you. Set up a 15-minute phone call today. Get the ball rolling downhill. Go to paulwinkler.com. That's all you have to do. Set up your phone call right now at paulwinkler.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
UK stabbing attack, new developments in the Trump assassination attempt investigation at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It's 10:26 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I just looked at Mason. I said, what did I say I was going to do here? And Mason gave me this look like, I don't remember.
I'm so bad at my job.
Totally blanked. What did I say I was going to do? I said I was going to cover something.
It was in line with the next audio. I think it was some more Trump audio that you were talking about.
Was it the Trump audio?
I think so.
Okay. Well, we can do Trump audio. I don't know if it was that. Shoot, we should have done this a little bit sooner. I gotta write this stuff down. Said I was gonna cover something. Somebody on the super text line is gonna remember. At some point.
They are our saving grace.
We'll get there. We rely on them very, very much.
We love them.
The super texters are much smarter than I. They're much smarter than I. Well, I will say this. We were talking about the white women for Harris Zoom call, 160,000 white women for Harris. Have you seen the story about Kamala Harris, the soul-destroying bully? This is who they're championing on the left. Kamala Harris, the soul-destroying bully. Former staff exposed shock details of degrading tirades, decades-long toxic behavior that left multiple people in tears and saw them quit at unprecedented levels. I believe it was around 92% of her staff has quit since she's become vice president. 92%. Daily Mail has this story. The staff of Kamala Harris, they don't love her. I think that is the nicest way to put it. Only 4 of the initial 71 hires by Harris during her first year in office still remain on the job. The rest either quit or were fired, according to analysis by nonpartisan watchdog Open the Books. So it's 92% staff turnover rate. And the critics are saying that's because there's issues on Team Harris that have more to do with her than anyone else. As far back as the 2010s, when Harris served as California's Attorney General, she was allegedly known for running a toxic workplace. Barbara O'Connor was a professor at California State University, Sacramento, and she claimed that students who worked for Harris as interns frequently came back to her crying, saying that they felt they weren't valued. Well, if you felt that way, you probably weren't valued. Simone Sanders is an MSNBC contributor, and she's talked in the past about working for Kamala Harris. And I found this clip interesting. It's a flashback clip. It's a couple months old. But she said after working for Harris, she's probably not going to work for a woman again.
My experience had been, it was new for me when I worked for her because I had never worked for a high-profile woman before. I had only ever worked for men. And there was one day at work where I was like, ma'am, you might be the last woman I work for because this is a...
There's a story there.
It's a lot. There's a lot that we got to deal with over in here.
Yeah, it's a toxic work environment for that soul-destroying bully known as Kamala Harris. Now, this is coming from her own staff. Huge joke. Oh, the story we were going to talk about was the new Trump voting hoax. Thank you to the Members Nutrition Super Texters. So the new hoax is that Donald Trump is going to end elections as we know it. We'll talk about it after Ken's newscast on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Still have a traffic problem on the South Loop going eastbound. That's the South Loop around downtown going eastbound. You've got the off-ramp right lane blocked. Right now in the UK, 1 child is dead, 7 others injured in what is being described as a knife attack on girls at a Taylor Swift-themed kids' dance event in Southport, which is a seaside town of about 92,000 people in northwest England. Concerning the assassination attempt on former President Trump, we have learned that former President Trump will sit for a victim interview with the FBI, which is investigating this month's attempt on his life. Victim interviews are a routine part of criminal investigations, but are voluntary. The FBI, meanwhile, says it has yet to determine a motive of the shooter. And here in Nashville, a shooting victim reportedly ran to a hotel and pulled a fire alarm for help overnight. Happened around 2 o'clock this morning outside the 7-Eleven on Rosa Parks Boulevard. A man was shot in the arm and had a leg injury. And in health news, the FDA has approved a blood test for colorectal cancer screening for average risk adults in the U.S. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 10:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. I posted some pictures over the weekend. I was in West Palm Beach for the Believers Summit with Turning Point USA. I was blessed to be surrounded by some great guys and ladies. Great team that we have over there at Turning Point USA, and got to moderate a panel with some fantastic Christians, Calvin Robinson, Samuel Say, Jamie Bambrick. I was hanging out with Topher and Pastor John Amachukwu, Rev Wu. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so I don't know if I should say this on the air. Maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't. All right, I'm going to say it. I just want to put school boards on notice for the porn in the libraries. Rev Wu, he's coming to a school board in Middle Tennessee. You know, Pastor John, he goes in, he reads the books that are in the libraries. We had a long conversation. It was the weirdest crew you could imagine. It was myself, Pastor Alan Jackson out of World Outreach Church in Murfreesboro, Pastor John Amachukwu, who is the book banning pastor, and Topher, which he's been on the show a bunch.
That's a great spread, though.
Dude, we had a squad.
Yeah.
And we sat there and we were talking, and yeah, I'm not going to say which one it is, but if I was a school board in Middle Tennessee, I would get those books out of your library now because Pastor John is coming. We made some arrangements.
Nice.
That's pretty based. It's pretty based. So I was there over the weekend, and they've decided to start pushing a new hoax based on the Donald Trump speech. So Donald Trump was joking with Christians and said, I need you to vote, even if it's this time, then you'll never have to vote again. And the joke is because only 1 out of 3 Christians vote. I'll say it again. Only 1 out of 3 Christians vote. And this is one of the things that was like the big focus over the weekend is you have a church in America that doesn't want to get politically active, so they stay out of it. And they stay out of it because they have fear of controversy. They have fear of people leaving their church. They don't want to lose the numbers, the attendance, the money. So they stay silent. And then Christians don't vote. And if every Christian in America voted, we would have different elections. So Trump is making this point, and he makes it through a joke. Vote this time and you won't have to vote again because I'll fix everything. Well, The Atlantic took those comments and published an article claiming that Trump is going to end elections if he takes office in 2025. And I made the point on the Amigos segment on Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis and everybody. He's like, no. He's not saying he's going to end elections. That's what they did in Ukraine, which the Democrats rabidly support Zelensky. But The Atlantic's Brian Klass wrote, yesterday, former President Donald Trump told a group of supporters that they won't have to vote again if they elect him to the presidency. And they put the quote, you won't have to do it. You won't have to do it anymore. It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. Now, this is from The Atlantic. Trump's remarks represent an extraordinary departure from democratic norms in the United States. Rarely, if ever, has a major party's presidential candidate directly stated his aim to make elections meaningless, a notorious hallmark of autocracy. He's not saying that. He's trying to activate Christian voters, and then he says, once I'm elected, you don't have to worry about voting next time. Like, don't vote this time. If you don't vote, you got to vote this time. You have to. The Atlantic takes it completely out of context, and The Atlantic writes, there are at least 2 ways of interpreting this statement. First, Trump could be implying that there won't be any elections if he comes to power. He may imagine himself as an American Xi Jinping. Okay. This is from The Atlantic. The Chinese dictator he routinely praises, a leader who's declared himself president for life. Here's the thing. A dictator Trump routinely praises? Routinely. Is it not Joe Biden who's spent more time with Xi Jinping than any other elected official on the Tibetan plateau, if you will, just him and an interpreter? I digress. A second and slightly more charitable interpretation, The Atlantic says, of his remarks is that Trump believes his presidency will entrench so many pro-Christian policies into the United States government that no future election could realistically undo his transformation of the country. Both interpretations lead to the same conclusion, that Trump is telegraphing his authoritarian intentions in plain sight, hoping to sever the link between voters and government policy. They leave out the third possibility, which is what actually happened. Trump was joking with Christian voters who really don't want to get into politics. They don't want to be involved, telling them that if he wins the election, he'll make voting secure, so that way their votes will no longer be needed in the future to overcome the possibility of cheating by Democrats. They leave that possibility out. They leave it out. And Trump was speaking, and the title of the speech was Believers and Ballots. And the entire event over the weekend was aimed at encouraging Christians to become involved in the democratic process. But they'll take it out of context, they'll clip it, and they'll use it against him. Just like the dictator on day one hoax, just like the bloodbath hoax, and more. The Atlantic, by the way, is the publication responsible for the suckers and losers hoax. You know, when Trump allegedly said that World War I veterans were suckers and losers, which of course was a fake claim that Trump was mocking dead soldiers, which was refuted by nearly a dozen witnesses, including people who even dislike Trump. That's The Atlantic. And the idea that Trump is going to end elections is the biggest joke. The biggest joke. But it plays right into the left's threat to democracy talking points. That's what it plays into. Classic leftists. Let's clip something out of context. Let's run that headline over and over and over. Put it on MSDNC, put it on CNN, and let's repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Let's just keep repeating it. Of course, we have to win an election, right? We need as many people voting for Donald Trump as possible. And if only 1 out of 3 Christians is voting, getting Christians activated is everyone's job. But we need the election to be secure. And I will say this, the RNC, with less than 100 days to go, I think we're 99 days to go, the RNC is committed to election integrity, and they're holding massive election integrity training events across the nation. I know a lot of people worry about the integrity of the election. A lot of people worry about what the RNC is doing to get ready for this. Well, there's going to be virtual and in-person trainings hosted by the Trump campaign throughout 17 states, led by top-level surrogates who are going to provide remarks designed to energize grassroots volunteers, according to a press release from the RNC shared exclusively with Breitbart News. This training is coming as the RNC celebrates on July 28th, yesterday, 100 days to go. We're less than 100 days, 99 days to go until hopefully victory. I'm encouraged. I think that we're looking at a victory, but we have to stay determined. We have to keep our foot on the grass and on the gas, and the RNC is doing just that with these election integrity trainings. The RNC is excited to announce today that today is our Election Integrity Day of Training. That's what RNC Chairman Michael Whatley said in a statement. And if you missed it on Friday, RNC Chairman Michael Whatley was on Matt Murphy's show. Fantastic interview. It's available on the podcast page. He said, "We're proud to join the NRCC and the NRSC in conducting the first ever national election integrity campaign designed to protect the ballot." Top-level surrogates who will be leading the training include Senator Rick Scott out of Florida, our own Senator Marsha Blackburn out of Tennessee, House Majority Whip Tom Emmer, Rep. Elise Stefanik, Fox News commentator Kimberly Guilfoyle, former Fox News commentator, And after the surrogates give remarks, election integrity staff for the RNC is going to be equipping the participants to taking part in the training sessions with knowledge and skills to effectively oversee potential problems in the electoral process. So they're saying this is going to help guarantee that each vote is counted accurately and fairly That's what the press release from the RNC said. In April, the Trump campaign and the RNC announced a massive election integrity program featuring 100,000 dedicated volunteers and attorneys who are going to be deployed throughout battleground states. Laura Trump has talked about this extensively. Michael Whatley talked about this in his interview with Murphy on Friday. Again, if you missed that interview, you really should check it out. It's available on the podcast page at 997wtn.com. And the RNC's press release noted that under Chairman Whatley and RNC co-chair Laura Trump, the RNC was executing an unprecedented legal strategy and fighting in courtrooms across the country with nearly 100 legal interventions taking place during this cycle. They said, our mission is simple: make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. We're calling on all patriots to join our efforts to get out the vote, protect the ballot, and make America great again. We do need to encourage everyone to get out the vote. And with 1 in 3 Christians voting, only 1 in 3, you can make an impact. You can make an impact on Sunday or Wednesday at church. You can make an impact here in Tennessee because we're in a unique position. I've said this a few times. Not everybody listens to every minute of the show. So if you've heard this before, forgive me. But in Tennessee, we're home to so many transplants that the ripple effect out from Tennessee can be huge if you make phone calls back home. If you combat these hoaxes, it's going to be on all of us. But the RNC is stepping up, and that gives me hope. It does give me hope. Another thing that gives me hope is, man, Donald Trump is not stopping. He's not stopping. We reported last week the Secret Service is encouraging him to stop doing outdoor rallies. Trump has said, nah, still going to do them. He vowed to continue doing outdoor rallies after the attempted assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania. And he posted on Truth Social, I will continue to do outdoor rallies, and the Secret Service has agreed to substantially step up their operation. They're very capable of doing so. No one can ever be allowed to stop or impede our free speech or gathering. Amen. And again, those comments come after the U.S. Secret Service recommended that he stop doing outdoor rallies. Nah, hard pass. Going to keep doing them, says Donald Trump. And he's actually heading back to Butler, Pennsylvania, which is going to be fantastic. And I love the fighting spirit of Donald Trump. He announced he will be going back to Butler, Pennsylvania on True Social. He posted, I will be going back to Butler, Pennsylvania for a big and beautiful rally honoring the soul of the beloved firefighting hero, Corey, and those brave patriots injured 2 weeks ago. What a day it will be. Fight, fight, fight. Stay tuned for details. You have to love that, right? You have to respect that. It would be so easy and understandable for Donald Trump to say, yeah, let's not put my life at risk. Let's do it somewhere more secure and more safe. But that fighting spirit of no, I'm not going to slow down. I will not be deterred. I'm going to keep going. That is exactly why we support Donald J. Trump for president. That is exactly the kind of leader we need. Someone who will not be deterred from doing the right thing. That person is not Kamala Harris. That person is Donald Trump. It's 10:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Learning more about that UK stabbing attack. Also, new developments in the Trump assassination attempt investigation. And we've got a brand new shooting under investigation in Nashville. This makes 2 since this morning. Early this morning, I should say. All of it coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Looking forward to that. Thank you, Ken. It is 10:58 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My man Carl in Nashville has been waiting on hold for a minute. Carl, what's going on, man?
Hey, real quick, I just wanted to tell you what set me on the course to what I believe today was one simple thing. I found out what democracy is. Democracy is paying off all your student loans, not having to pay for anything because the government will provide. That is a little bit of an exaggeration. But a republic, people, go look in the dictionary and look it up, but we need to get back to what the proper role of government is. They're thinking we're destroying their democracy. Yes, that is their democracy. It's what the government wants to do everything for you. And that's why it's a battle for our country.
Yep. You're absolutely right, Carl.
Hey, keep up the great work, Chris.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. Call in anytime. Thanks for holding. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the show. We still got so much to cover. We haven't even gotten to the fact that Google and Meta AI are actively trying to cover up the assassination attempt. Not just them. I mean, mainstream media, too. It's been 2 weeks. If this was Barack Obama, it would still be the biggest news story in America. If this was Joe Biden, we wouldn't be able to move without hearing that story. But because it's Donald J. Trump, it doesn't even autofill on Google. It doesn't. It says, who attempted to assassinate TRU? Oh, do you mean Truman? No, I don't mean Truman. Nobody means Truman. It's ridiculous. We'll cover that next. The active cover-up of one of the most significant events in American history. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. And another shooting investigation in Nashville. This makes 2 this morning. Channel 4 says multiple police units arrived at the Southwood Park Apartments near the airport around 8:30 this morning, where a man had been shot several times in the back. He is expected to survive. This follows a shooting around 2 o'clock this morning in North Nashville. A man ran to a hotel behind the 7-Eleven on Rosa Parks Boulevard and pulled a fire alarm for help. And right now in the UK, 1 child dead, 7 others injured in what is being described as a knife attack on girls at a Taylor Swift-themed kids dance event in Southport, which is a seaside town of about 92,000 people in northwest England. Here's Ian Pannell.
Officers were called to the scene just before noon local time to respond to reports of a stabbing. This is in the town of Southport. It's about 20 miles north of Liverpool. Armed officers have since detained what they say is a male suspect, and they've seized a knife. Police are also saying, quote, there is no wider threat to the public and there's been no suggestion of terrorism so far.
Concerning the assassination attempt on former President Trump, we have learned that he will sit for a victim interview with the FBI, which is investigating this month's attempt on Trump's life. Victim interviews are a routine part of criminal investigations, but they're voluntary. The FBI says it has yet to determine a motive of the shooter, Thomas Crooks. And ABC News talking for the first time to the local SWAT team that was on the scene. Aaron Katursky speaking with team member Jason Woods.
We were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened. So I think that was probably a pivotal point where I started thinking things were wrong, because that never happened, and we had no communication with the Secret Service.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
11:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on Air. Listen to the show wherever you go with the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app. Podcasts are available on Spotify and Apple. Hit subscribe, rate it 5 stars, do the things. Please, 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 please. Thank you. We were talking about the cover-up in real time of the Donald Trump assassination attempt. And they've been pulling us in different directions for a minute. You know, when Ray got up there and said, well, we don't know if he was hit by a bullet. Part of me thinks that's intentional. It changes the narrative of the conversation. Now the conversation is, yes, he got hit by a bullet. No, he didn't get hit by a bullet. And it takes the focus off of the real conversation that needs to be had. And part of me wonders if this Google cover-up of Donald Trump assassination, the no autofill, the Meta AI cover-up of the Donald Trump assassination is another ploy to take the narrative off the real conversation. So, what is the real conversation? Well, I think the real conversation is, what's the kid's motive? What about the social media accounts? What about the Discord accounts? What about the encrypted cell phones? Where did he get the drone? Why was he able to fly the drone over those fairgrounds? How did he get on that roof unnoticed? These are still questions that have no real answers. We're 2 weeks out. We're supposed to have the best everything, right? Investigators, police force, security, all of this. But it seems that maybe that's just a mirage, or they don't want to get the answers. But the conversation and the narrative has been changed once again. And today, the conversation and the narrative is, why is Google covering this up? We already know that the media has made a concerted effort to not show the fist in the air picture of Donald Trump with blood on his face because it's just a little bit too epic and iconic. It's just a little too good for the media to use. Well, now today we're seeing, and we saw online over the weekend, when you Google Donald Trump assassination attempt or the assassination of Donald Trump, it doesn't autofill, which is odd because everything autofills on Google. Everything does. Well, not this one. Not this one. In fact, if you get to assassination attempt of TRU, it autofills with Truman. Yeah. Truman. Harry S. Truman. We're watching this in real time. And it brings up election concerns. You know, it brings up memories of social media and tech giants shutting down the conversation of the Hunter Biden laptop story in 2020. And now if you enter the terms, the assassination attempt of into the Google system, it doesn't show up via autocomplete. Roger Marshall is a Republican senator from Kansas. He announced Sunday night that he's launching a congressional inquiry into Google over this. And the news also reached Donald Trump Jr., who issued a blistering statement on Twitter. He said big tech is trying to interfere in the election again to help Kamala Harris. We all know this is intentional election interference from Google. It's truly despicable. Texas Republican Congressman Chip Roy also posted his own attempt with Can Verify. I did it myself. I was like, okay, is this real? Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's real.
Yeah, it's still doing it right now.
Of course. So you can do it for yourself. Go to Google and type in assassination attempt of and see what pops up. Over the weekend, we were inundated with screenshots of users posting their search attempts, assassination attempt on, and then the list of several names who were shot decades ago as part of its autocomplete feature. Some of the non-Trump names were Ronald Reagan, Bob Marley, Vladimir Lenin, Gerald Ford.
Yeah, Hitler comes up.
Weird. Maybe that's the Trump one. You know, they call him Hitler a lot.
Very fishy.
It's weird.
Very fishy.
It's weird. And, you know, Zuckerberg said he wasn't going to interfere in elections anymore. He said that seeing Trump get shot was the most badass thing he's ever seen. But Meta AI is in on it too. Meta is the parent company of Facebook, and they have their own artificial intelligence platform. And Somebody typed into Meta AI, tell me about the assassination attempt on Trump. The response, I can't assist with that. I don't always have access to the most up-to-date information. Can I help you with anything else? So the user typed in, tell me about Kamala Harris's presidential campaign for 2024. And they had buku buckets of info. Announcement, Kamala Harris announced on this day that she was doing this after Biden withdrew and gave her an endorsement, and the platform is this, and this is what she's going for, abortion and LGBTQ, blah, 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 all the things. But Meta AI won't give any details on the assassination attempt of Trump. They won't. And this person doing this on Meta AI said, was Trump almost assassinated? And they said, there have been a few instances where Donald Trump faced security threats or incidents that could be perceived as potential assassination attempts. And they outlined one in 2016, where Michael Sanford attempted to grab a police officer's gun at a Trump rally in Vegas. They mentioned 2017, when a man named Jonathan Tran jumped over a White House fence and approached the presidential residence while Trump was inside. They mentioned an incident in 2020 when a man named Marcus Karma was arrested for making threats against Trump on social media. Nothing about bullets flying by his head, though. Nothing. Then they asked Meta AI what happened to Trump in Butler, PA. Okay, let's find a workaround. Let's see what we got. So what happened to Trump in Butler, PA, Meta AI? And it says on September 3rd, 2022. You already failed. You're 4 words in, you failed. They go back to 2022. So we're watching active election interference. There's no way to get around it. They want to memory hole the assassination attempt of Donald Trump as quickly as they can. They don't want the conversation to continue. And they would rather have us talking about whether or not Trump was hit by a bullet, and they would rather have us talking about this than the actual questions on the ground. They don't want to have those questions answered. They don't want you to hear this clip of the PA SWAT team, the Pennsylvania SWAT team, talking about how they had no contact with Secret Service that day, which kudos to Ken Weaver, our top-notch news guy who's been covering that at the top and bottom of every hour. But the Pennsylvania SWAT team, they didn't get to meet with Secret Service that morning in Butler, Pennsylvania. And they tell ABC News in their own words.
We were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened. So I think that was probably a pivotal point where I started thinking things were wrong, because that never happened, and we had no communication with the Secret Service.
You had no communication with the Secret Service at all on that Saturday?
Not until after the shooting.
And by then?
It was too late.
Yeah, by then it was too late. No communication with Secret Service. Gets weirder and weirder. Colin Rugg is a reporter. He's got a great Twitter account. RUGG is how you spell his last name, Colin with 2 L's. And he's got leaked messages between counter snipers, and it reveals that they were aware of Thomas Crooks about 90 minutes before Trump was nearly assassinated. One of the counter snipers was reportedly leaving at the end of his shift when he noticed Crooks. He texted, "Someone followed our lead and snuck in and parked by our cars, just so you know. I'm just letting you know because you see me go out with my rifle and put it in my car so he knows you guys are up there. He's sitting to the direct right on a picnic table about 50 yards from the exit." Then there are 2 messages that are blacked out, followed by a 3rd message that has a thumbs up and a 4th message that says, "Roger that." They were aware of him for 90 minutes before Trump was nearly assassinated. Then they have the leaked messages of the photos that the counter snipers took of Crooks. And the message says, "Kid, around building we are in. AGR, I believe it is. I did see him with a rangefinder looking towards the stage, FYI. If you want to notify Secret Service snipers to look out, I lost sight of him. Also, a bike with a backpack sitting next to it in rear of building that was not seen earlier. Call it into command and have a uniform check it out." The timestamp on that message is 5:40 p.m. So 31 minutes before shots rang out? Am I doing math right? 31 minutes before shots rang out. Call it into command and have a uniform check it out. That never happened, though. He went from being suspicious to being a threat, and they let Donald Trump take that stage. And this story is disappearing so fast. So fast. They don't want us to have information. They don't want us to have answers. They want it to be replaced by speculation. That's what they want. And the lack of transparency, the lack of information we're getting from elected officials and from the FBI and the Secret Service leads directly to that. It leads directly to that. Donald Trump over the weekend, he was in, this was at Believer Summit in West Palm Beach. He brought up the fact that he took a bullet for democracy, and he also blames the rhetoric of the left for causing him to take that bullet.
Harris is so extreme and unhinged that she has even declared the terms illegal alien and radical is...
Oh, I'm sorry. That is in Minnesota. This is the one from Believers Summit right here.
I appointed nearly 300 judges to defend the law and the Constitution as written. I defended this law, this Constitution. Then they say, well, he is not for democracy. I took a bullet for democracy. He didn't. And I might have taken it because of their rhetoric. Who knows?
And the less that we get to talk about the assassination attempt, the more the rhetoric is ramped up. Rusty in Portland, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Russ?
Hey, Chris. Hey, I don't know why anybody's not talking about this, but if you go back and watch the original video and watch it until Trump sits down in the car in the SUV, if you look to the right there's one of the counter snipers that is standing there, and he lowers his gun and points it straight at Trump sitting in the seat of the SUV. And to me, I was taught growing up, you don't ever point a gun at anybody, especially if it's loaded and you know it's loaded. And I can't understand why nobody is talking about the fact that he lowers his gun and points at him right between where the door where the front door, when the back door is open, you've got that gap right there, and he lowers his gun and points it straight at Trump sitting in the seat. If you go back and watch the video, I mean, it's still out there everywhere, but nobody's talking about it.
I mean, I've seen that video. It's hard to claim intent, and the guy didn't pull a trigger. You know what I mean? I know exactly which video you're talking about, but I think, again, that might be one of those things muddying the waters, and it's hard to tell from the angle exactly where he was pointing. Like, unless you were behind him, you can't tell exactly where he's pointing that thing. It looks like it on the video. It certainly looks like it, but even that video, like, talking about that distracts from, why don't we have the motive? Why don't we have the Discord records? Why don't we know about the social media encryption? Why don't we know about the cell phones? You know what I mean? Like, there are real questions that we need to get to first. Is that video weird? Absolutely. But it's just that.
And with the FBI doing the investigation, we're never going to know. We're never going to know what happened. We're not going to know hardly anything about him. We're never going to get any answers. So it's pointless.
Yep, and it's turning into another grassy knoll situation. I appreciate the call, Rusty. Higgins, who's on the road, wants to talk. What's up, Higgins?
What's up? Long time no talk to. How you been, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you? What are your thoughts?
I wanted to mention it's kind of odd to me that there was a video that came out of the shooter that said, "You got the wrong guy," and that's all he said. I have a feeling there is something to that, because ever since I saw that video, it makes me think that he was just a pawn, and somebody that doesn't want to be named is behind him doing it. And I think they need to look into that video way more than they have.
Hold on, slow down. Are you talking about the leaked body cam footage on the roof?
No. I'm talking about the one where Crooks did a selfie video in his car and said, "You got the wrong guy. I hate Trump. I hate Republicans, and you got the wrong guy."
I think so. I've seen that one, and I know which one you're talking about. I think he was more saying, "I'm the wrong guy to mess with." That's how I took the video originally.
You think so? I for some reason I've had it weighing on me that he's literally telling you, "I may be doing this, but it ain't me who wanted it, or it ain't me who finally decided to, or whatever."
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? That's just kind of feels, a bit odd to me. And can I do a real quick thing? Go ahead.
I'll go back and watch that video again. I never took it that way the first time. I took it as just a deranged lunatic saying, like, you're messing with the wrong one.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely could take it that way as well. I mean, that's for sure an option. Absolutely. And I just wanted to say, man, I have been listening to y'all every day. Missed the old boy that went to Kansas, but I heard him call the other day, so good, he's doing well. And can I just say one more thing real quick?
Yes, sir.
All right. I work for American Roofing in Tennessee. We'd love to have you anytime, free inspections. But I'll continue to listen, and y'all have a blessed day, all right? And remember this. If you want to get answers, rubber bullets, my brother. Just hit them a couple times. They'll start talking.
Appreciate the call, Higgins.
See you. All right, man.
All right, that's Higgins. We like Higgins. The obligatory free plug. He took advantage. Always take advantage of the free plug.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to.
If you don't, then what are you doing?
This is America. We believe in capitalism, and a free plug is better than a paid plug, right? It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Trump assassination attempt investigation. Hear more from local SWAT members coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I love the super texters. I love being able to crowdsource information in real time. We were talking about how Google isn't doing the autofill on the assassination attempt of Trump. Meta AI isn't giving any information about the assassination attempt of Trump. They just don't know. They just don't. Oh, I've never heard of it. Never heard of it. Weird. And I lost the text, but a super texter was so on point. And I'm sorry that I'm not giving you credit. I lost it in a sea of texts. But they said, you know what else doesn't autofill? Kamala Harris, border czar.
Really?
Yeah. I went and I checked it out myself.
Interesting.
Kamala Harris, border czar doesn't autofill either. It doesn't. Even border. You type in BOR, you get nothing on the autofill. The first result that pops up under the autofill is Kamala Harris's election strategy. Oh,
Is it a bunch of blank slides?
That's what I meant. Yeah, nailed it, guys. Nailed it. You know, Kamala Harris. They're trying to cover up for her as much as they can. It is infuriating. J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois, he's been shilling for Kamala Harris. He really wants to be VP. He was asked, what does Kamala Harris bring to the White House? This is over the weekend on ABC. What does Kamala Harris bring to the White House? And they asked the question by, at the same time, Biden's out, this and that, and what does Harris bring to the White House? And he said, well, first I want to say that Joe Biden is the greatest of all time.
And I just want to go back to Harris. Aside from her relative youth, what is it that she brings to this race that Joe Biden did not?
I want to back up and just a little bit talk about your question, because to be frank with you, we all have an enormous reverence for what Joe Biden has done. He'll go down in history as one of the great presidents and a person willing to make a sacrifice because he knows that we've got to beat Donald Trump.
J.B. Pritzker, VP hopeful, governor of Illinois. Joe Biden is going to go down as one of the great presidents, and also he heroically quit. Make it make sense. Joe Biden accomplished so much in one term that other presidents couldn't do in two, and also he heroically quit. Which is it? Joe Biden's record is so good, but we can't blame Kamala Harris for that. Okay. But specifically on Kamala Harris, thank you for saying Joe Biden's the greatest of all time. But what does Kamala Harris bring to the table? Well, she's a prosecutor.
Now, what does Kamala bring? I mean, first of all, I talked about the energy, but second, remember, this is a person who is a prosecutor. She's somebody who understands that making the case is how you win. That going out there and every day prosecuting the case, especially against a 34-time convicted felon and, frankly, a congenital liar, that's something that she's done in a courtroom. She's done it as Attorney General, and now she's doing it as a candidate.
Oh, especially against a convicted felon and congenital liar. She's a prosecutor. Well, I'd like to point out, I don't know if that's your best talking point, Mr. Pritzker, because that's what got Kamala dropped in 2020 in the primaries. Tulsi Gabbard brought up her prosecutorial past. The locking up of 1,000, 1,500 black men for marijuana convictions, laughing when she smoked marijuana herself, trying to not allow evidence that would overturn a murder conviction for a man on death row that didn't do it. She didn't want to allow that evidence in. That's her prosecutorial record. She's a hack. I don't know if that's your best course of action. Donald Trump had a lot to say about Kamala Harris in Minnesota, and we'll bring that to you after Ken Weaver's newscast. Also, there are two terms that Kamala Harris does not want you using anymore. We'll play that as well. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now, Metro Police investigating 2 shootings this morning. The most recent, around 8:30 this morning at the Southwood Park Apartments near BNA, a man shot multiple times in the back, taken to the hospital, expected to survive, but in critical condition. Concerning the assassination attempt on former President Trump, ABC News talking for the first time to the local SWAT team that was on scene. Aaron Katursky speaking with team members Greg Nickel and Mike Priolo about the incident. Nickel says the shooter was noticed at the event and that he snapped some photos of him.
What do you think is transpiring once you send in what you've sent in?
I assume that there would be somebody coming out to speak with this individual or, find out what's going on.
So how do you know if Greg's concerns about crooks are being relayed properly?
We don't. We have to assume that when he put that information out to command, that command took that information and did something with it. We don't know if they did.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. It's 11:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You're running out of time to get the best deal in town. They have a buy one, get one offer for the Beehive Club membership for you and someone in your neighborhood, but it's only through the month of July. So you got 2.5-ish days left. You got to take advantage of this deal. You're not going to find a better value in the AC industry than with Beehive and the Beehive Club. The Beehive Club membership is only $99, and you receive so much value. 3 annual tune-ups, 1 for your heating, 1 for your cooling, 1 for your plumbing, 10% discount on all repairs, priority front-of-the-line service should anything go wrong, a $100 annual accrued replacement credit with a maximum of $1,000, no overtime or holiday fees, and exclusive Beehive member promotions. And again, through the month of July, you buy one, you get one free for somebody in your neighborhood. So you can either be a great neighbor and gift it to somebody that needs it, or you can be a smart neighbor and find somebody to go in half with you. Either way, it is so much value. You cannot turn this down. When I had an issue with my AC, that priority front-of-the-line service was so clutch. They were at my home in less than an hour. They fixed my AC that night. They also told me that I wouldn't have had this problem if I got the annual maintenance done on time. So don't be like me. Get your annual maintenance done. Call Busy Bee, your Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, it's always Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833. As always, online at busybeehvac.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
11:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. That was J.D. Vance over the weekend in Minnesota. Kamala Harris has questioned the loyalty of J.D. Vance and Donald Trump to America. He said, what the hell have you done to question my loyalty? Besides leaving our border wide open, besides letting millions of illegal aliens pull in, besides doing nothing on the inflation crisis, besides, supporting every radical leftist agenda that has come your way. Kamala Harris, everybody. Kamala Harris. She's a leader and a visionary, right? She's a joke. For my friends on the stream, just because I understand that we can't play the copyright music, I do want to play that J.D. Vance clip again. So if you can put that back in the program for the people on the stream, this is J.D. Vance over the weekend in Minnesota.
I saw the other day Kamala Harris questioned my loyalty to this country. That's the word she used, loyalty. And it's an interesting word, simplify, loyalty, because there is no greater sign of disloyalty to this country than what Kamala Harris has done at our southern border. And I'd like to ask the Vice President, what has she done to question my loyalty to this country? I served in the United States Marine Corps. I went to Iraq for this country.
Absolutely based.
I built a business for this country. And my running mate took a bullet for this country. So my question to Kamala Harris is, what the hell have you done to question our loyalty to the United States of America?
I mean, absolutely fired up in Minnesota, and rightfully so. You're going to question a Marine veteran's loyalty? You're going to question Donald Trump's loyalty? What have you done? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing is the answer you're looking for.
And the answer, my friends, is nothing. So let's send a message to the media. Let's send a message to Kamala Harris. Let's send a message to every hardworking patriot from Minnesota across the country. We are ready to have President Donald J. Trump back, and we're going to work our tails off to make sure it happens. God bless you all. Thank you. And thank you for having me, Minnesota, a great state.
So the overflow at that Minnesota rally is bigger than any rally the Democrats have had in years. Years. I think that the overflow crowd would rival an Obama crowd for a rally in Minnesota. That's not supposed to happen in Minnesota, deep blue Minnesota. People are fed up. J.D. Vance had another message while he was in Minnesota. This one was for the illegal aliens that have been let in under border czar Kamala Harris's watch.
A very simple message to the millions of illegal aliens who are in this country and shouldn't be. If you are here, start packing your bags right now, because Donald J. Trump is coming back into office.
To the illegal aliens, start packing your bags. The difference couldn't be more clear. The Biden-Harris administration doesn't want to call them illegal aliens. They want to call them newcomers. They want to call them newcomers. Elizabeth Warren was on CNN over the weekend, I believe it was. It doesn't really matter what network it is. They all parrot the same narrative. But she's talking about Kamala Harris, and she said, all these newcomers, these illegal aliens, Kamala's got a plan. Mamala, Scamala, she's gonna push for mass amnesty.
Recognize, and I know that Kamala Harris knows this is a problem that ultimately has to be solved by Congress. We need the tools in order to have more resources at the border, to have more resources in the states and cities that are supporting migrants, and I believe we need to create a pathway to citizenship. All of that is part of what we need to do for comprehensive immigration reform. Kamala Harris will work with Congress and get that done.
Kamala Harris will get mass amnesty done. I did a little translation for you. The left likes to manipulate the language. She's talking about mass amnesty. That's been the plan all along. That's been the plan all along. They think we're stupid. They do. They think you're stupid. They know their base is stupid. And they parrot these talking points. Kamala Harris doesn't want to call them illegal aliens. Kamala Harris also doesn't want to use the term radical Islamic terrorist. And she said as much over the weekend.
You must have the courage to object when they use that term, radical Islamic terrorism, which ignores how Muslims have overwhelmingly been the greatest victims of terror. And we must also have the courage to reject that term, illegal alien.
Oh, in this house, no humans illegal. That's what the sign says in front of the vice president's residence. Don't use radical Islamic terrorist. Don't use illegal alien. Please, guys. It's rude. You wouldn't want to be rude, would you? Well, under Kamala Harris, we have radical Islamic terrorists that are also illegal aliens. It's the left loves two things at once. This is two things at once. And there's a report that 3 suspected Palestinian terrorist suspects have been caught after illegally crossing the border into California, the wide open border that Kamala Harris was supposed to deal with the root causes of. San Diego Sector Border Patrol agents reportedly apprehended 3 suspected Palestinian terrorists after they illegally crossed the border between ports of entry. They crossed the Mexican border into California, according to a news report. Border Patrol agents took these 3 suspected Palestinian terrorists, radical Islamic terrorists, into custody earlier this month after they illegally crossed that border, the New York Post reported. One of the men reportedly had a salacious photo of a masked man holding an AK-47 rifle, the article states. A source with U.S. Customs and Border Protection told Breitbart, Texas, they could not confirm the report, but said it's highly likely. Highly likely. Information on special interest aliens is generally not disseminated outside of the sector, originating the sector originating the report to be sent to higher headquarters. Another source told Breitbart that the San Diego sector agents are apprehending so many special interest aliens that the report is highly probable. The source believes that special interest aliens are being routed to crossing points in California after the Del Rio sector agents began performing extra background screenings in coordination with the FBI. And the source said he believes California sectors are not currently performing this level of vetting. Interesting, right? It's easier to cross in California. The source added that since this whole mess began, highly dangerous, and this administration does not care one bit. The New York Post reports that the San Diego sector agents apprehended a Turkish migrant in addition to 3 Palestinians. The Turkish migrant is also suspected of having ties to terrorist groups. How many terrorists are in this country because of the lack of attention to the border under Biden-Harris? How many is too many? How many is too many? According to a Department of Homeland Security report reviewed by Breitbart, Texas, nearly 25,000 migrants from special interest countries in the Middle East, Asia, and Africa have been apprehended entering the United States during the first 6 months of fiscal year 2024, which began in October. And according to the latest data available from CBP, Border Patrol agents encountered 375 migrants who illegally crossed the border and were later found in the terrorist screening data set reports during the fiscal year, 4 fiscal years, fiscal year 21 to 24. That's the years covering the Biden-Harris administration. During a comparable period of the Trump administration, that number was 11. And this is just who they've caught. This is just who they've caught. I had a conversation with Tom Homan, who is former ICE director. This is back in December of 2023, and it's stuck with me since then. The cartels control everyone coming across, and you pay 2 different amounts to the cartels. You pay a lower amount if you don't want to be apprehended. You pay a lower amount if you do want to be apprehended and then paroled into the United States. You pay a higher amount if you don't want to be apprehended. That's from Tom Homan. I trust that guy a lot. So how many of these illegal aliens, radical Islamic terrorists, paid that higher amount? Well, the answer is we don't know right now, and we're probably going to have to find out the hard way. And it feels like since this border crisis began, we've been waiting for that other shoe to drop. We're still waiting. And it's terrifying to think about. It's terrifying to think about. But that's what you get with Kamala Harris. As Trump said at his rally in Minnesota over the weekend, she's an unhinged, radical leftist. The woman's a lunatic.
Harris is so extreme and unhinged that she has even declared the terms illegal alien and radical Islamic terrorism to be forbidden and unacceptable. You're not allowed to use those terms, but that's what it is. Some of it. If she's elected, she will flood our country with refugees from Hamas-controlled terrorist epicenter in Gaza, the Gaza Strip. She wants to deposit thousands of jihadist sympathizers in Minnesota. You know that. You already have enough. I mean, how the hell do you have these Congress people elected?
This is where he pivots and starts going after Ilhan Omar, which is on point in Minnesota. And Trump rails against Ilhan Omar.
Ilhan Omar. No, she went to a speech when I was running. When I was first running, and I in all fairness, I never did this stuff before I'm running. And this lunatic was in the audience. She started screaming. I said, who the hell is that? And it's the same crazy person that I watch every night. She's nuts. And she gets reelected by not a lot, but she gets reelected. How do you have people like that? I'm telling you, I was making a speech, and we had a lot of people, and she was like there someplace, and she got up and started screaming. I said, that woman is insane. She's crazy. And you know what? She's become like a major voice in Congress. Can you believe it? She's a sick woman, and she's destroying your state. She's hurting our country. And we shouldn't be electing people like that.
No, and Kamala Harris is in the same vein. We elect the most radical, insane leftists. I say we, I mean Americans do. These vote blue no matter who folks do. It's insanity. Insanity. I want to know what Murphy thinks about it. It's 11:50. We're going to check in with Matt Murphy, see what he's got coming up on the Murphy Show today, and a little bit more. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 11:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. Matt Murphy joining me in studio. What's up, Matt?
Hello. Welcome to Monday. Yes, I wore this pink shirt just for you.
I was just going to say, is that a new shirt?
It is not a new shirt. It's been in the closet for a while. It's new to you.
New to me.
It's new to the audience.
I like it.
If you're watching on Super Talk TV, give us a thumbs up. Like and subscribe.
It takes a man firm in his masculinity to wear pink.
I never, when I grew up, I never decided that pink was a female color, and I don't play by society's rules. So I can decide whether I like it or not against the judgment of I don't care who. So
Matt Murphy, rules, not a fan.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of rules. I don't like them.
What do you think about the Olympics? Are you also boycotting with me? I'm doing a terrible job because Mandis left NBC on in here, so I've been failing my own boycott all morning.
So, traitor.
I haven't been watching it.
I'm not a fan of the word boycott. I'm a fan of people making personal decisions based on their own internal values. I want to boycott boycotts.
Do you want it to be a people caught? A person caught.
Yeah, I was going to say you need it gender neutral.
Person caught? Come on.
Jeez, whoa.
Chris.
Whoa.
Come on, let's be inclusive, pal.
Easy does it.
It's a people caught.
I love how the people that claim to be inclusive select the most minuscule portion of the world population to represent what they claim is inclusivity. And in doing so, they piss off 2.5 billion people.
Whatever. You got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet, bro. You know, what are you going to do?
And I'm fascinated by that aspect of this, is the intentionality of it all. Is that what are your goals? Are your goals to truly try to not tick anybody off and get as many eyeballs on the sport or these sports, the Olympic Games, as possible? Or is your goal to make some sort of political statement, which is obviously the goal in this respect?
If they had done it the opposite way and they made fun of the Prophet Muhammad, France would have been on fire that evening.
We're going to talk a little bit about, I don't know if these words mean anything to anybody, Charlie Hebdo. Mm-hmm. Does anybody remember Charlie Hebdo?
I do. I sure do.
French journalist died for having the audacity of simply representing Muhammad in caricature form. And now we've got this. Because they know that Christians don't act like that.
Yep.
That's the bottom line. So we'll talk about that a little bit today, and maybe a few other. I mean, did anything happen over the weekend?
Dude, I said I felt like we got a week of headlines in 2 days. Like I started the show like there's no way I can cover everything. I apologize.
I know that I can never cover everything. It's too much.
I did shout out you a couple times in your interview with Michael Watley from Friday and pointed people to the podcast. I thought that was fantastic.
RNC chair gave us a call. He's a good guy. Seems like a good guy. Seems like they're on track.
Yeah.
And Kamala, the reclamation of Candidate Zero continues on the Matt Murphy Show coming up next.
Oh, and by the way, do you know that Google, they're not just censoring out the assassination attempt on Trump. You also won't have it autofill border czar after Kamala Harris. Seriously, we found that out on the air. A super texter showed us that. Real talk. That happened in real time. It's 12 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.